Evening. It is good to see each of you here who are able to make it tonight. I know a lot of people, as Tom mentioned, are not feeling well, me included, and it used to be the case before PowerPoint and things of that nature, that when this happened, the preacher could go back to something and look at a smaller sermon or something along those lines, and you guys would never know. But we're going to do that tonight because I'm not sure I can make it through tonight's sermon that I had planned. And so we're going to look at a different lesson tonight, so there won't be any slides with the lesson. When you think of the word purpose, the word purpose is a powerful word. It's one of those words that fuels people, isn't it? It's one of those words that when we wake up in the morning till we go to bed in evening, it's that which motivates us and tries to get us, or at least spurs us on to the next avenue, the next way, the next event, the next thing in which we are involved with. That's which we have purpose in our lives. Man can get in the way of his biblical purpose more often than not, can't he? I'm reminded of what Solomon, as he wrote to his son, to his children, and to all of us, inspired by God in the book of Proverbs, what was said in Proverbs chapter 19 and verse 21, many are the plans in the mind of men. In chapter 20, in verse 5, he would say, the purpose of man's heart is like deep water, but a man of understanding will draw it out. When it comes to purpose, purpose does fuel us. It is that which helps us, helps us and motivates us, and it's no different from our physical selves to our spiritual selves. In our spiritual walk, God knew we needed purpose. He knew we needed something. We needed that which would motivate us to righteousness, to say faithful and true. Our purpose, when we really get down to the crux of it, is to love God, isn't it? It's to seek Him and His righteousness, His kindness, His care and concern, as we talked about this morning, and as we talked about a few weeks ago and the week before that. When it comes to God the Father, God the Son, and God the Spirit, they are love. And they have shown their purpose towards us, to love us, to care for us, to desire to have a relationship with us. It's our purpose in and of the same to look towards God and to love Him. When we think of God's purpose towards us, we have to look no further than creation in Adam and Eve, don't we? God created this universe for Adam and Eve, for humanity and mankind, and in that perfect creation, that which was created great and good, He created a garden just for them, that they may go to, they may be a part of, that was even better, where Him and her and God would walk together. When we think about that love and that purpose God had in creating us, we realize and we see our necessity, our purpose towards Him. When we wake up in the mornings, till we go to bed at night, we're reminded of our purpose. In Ephesians chapter 2, 8 through 10, we see a beautiful passage as we've been going through the book of Ephesians. It would have been in chapter 6 tonight. But we see that where God, through Paul, is trying to demonstrate purpose, isn't He? The purpose of mankind, both Jew and Gentile. And He says there in Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 8, that it is that free gift, the gift of grace, that was purposed towards us, that was given to each of us, that we may take hold of it, that we may grab it, that we may be saved by it. And in verse 10 he says, we who have done so, us who have done that, our purpose is then found in Him, to be that which we were created for as His workmanship, verse 10. In fact, in Titus chapter 2, 11 and 12, we oftentimes talk about in verse 11, the grace of God which has been given to all. But if we were to continue on there to verse 12, we see that grace, that Jesus, the free gift of God, had a purpose. And that was to create purpose in us, that we no longer live a life of unrighteousness, unfaithfulness. That we live a life that stands true to our God. That our purpose now is not to live for self, but to live for God. Not to care about our own whims and our own whimsical things, but to set our sights on God. To set our sights on Him. His love for us, our love for Him. And a reminder, of course, of what Jesus said in John 14 and verse 15. If you love me, you will keep my commandments. You will have a purpose and workmanship of righteousness and truth. John, later, the apostle in 1 John 5 and verse 3 would say, those commandments aren't difficult, are they? To love God, keep His commandments. When we think about purpose, when we wake up in the morning, as I said, till we go to bed at night, no matter if we're feeling under the weather, no matter what the case may be, we know we wake up to a God who has purpose for us. He purposely has done everything He can to have a relationship with us, and He wants us to purposely want a relationship with Him. Our purpose is to work for God, to love Him, care for Him, and strive for righteousness in everything. And we have been promised an inheritance. We have been promised an eternity with Him. Revelation 4, we see the beautiful existence of God the Father on His throne, and all those that are in heaven. As John peered through the window there and saw this beautiful scene, he saw all those in God's home. He saw the beauty, the worship, the majesty. But he tells them in chapter 2 and verse 10, what? Be faithful unto death, and you will receive that crown. You will get that inheritance. You'll be a part of the eternity with God. As we think about our purpose, as we look to ourselves, and we look to what God would expect from us, let our purpose be, each and every day, to stay on that true path of righteousness. Let that purpose be of ours, to walk on the path of truth, the path of love that God has built brick by brick for us through His Word. As we think about that, and as you consider that, let it be said that each of us not only strive for that individually, but we strive for it collectively, and that we help one another in that goal. As you go about the rest of your evening, the rest of this week, and the rest of your lives, let us as a family grow together in purpose. Let us as a family grow together with all those we come in contact who have the same goals, the same purpose in their focus. Let us be a family who relies on the love of God and His purpose towards us and does that towards Him. Let us understand our purpose and let it motivate us. If there's someone here this evening who needs the prayers of this congregation, who needs the love, care, and concern that God has purposed the church with, to help, edify, and encourage, and to strengthen, let us be that for you tonight. And let us help you as you come forward and we stand and we sing.